My family is battling over my grandfather's mountain cabin, and it revealed who they truly are, so I had to cut them off for good. My grandfather's will stipulated that his mountain cabin be shared among all 5 grandchildren, and now we're battling over how to use it. My grandfather, Arthur, always loved his mountain cabin. It was a small place, but held so many memories of our childhood vacations. He passed away last year, and in his will, he stated that the cabin was to be divided equally amongst his 5 grandchildren. Myself, Noah, 34, my sister Hazel, 31, and my cousins Leo, 36, Ivy, 28, and Miles, 26. None of us have ever had property, so everyone was pretty excited. We initially agreed to split time at the cabin every year, rotating every few months. Leo, the oldest, proposed the schedule, and everyone agreed it sounded fair. Leo and his partner used the cabin first. They did a huge reno without asking any of us. The whole place now looks like a weird Pinterest board of a rustic cabin meets modern tech that clashes terribly and does not look like it belongs in the woods. The cabin was left to us in perfect condition. It didn't need that reno and was expensive. They put in a smart home system and a jacuzzi when he never used a jacuzzi in the first place. He is now saying that we all need to pay for the remodel when he didn't even discuss the remodeling with any of us. Now he wants us to pay thousands. When he told us that, Hazel blew up at him. She told him that his ideas were stupid and we should just sell the cabin since that is what everyone is planning at this point. That's when Miles brought up that he wanted to convert the place into an Airbnb. He works in tech and he's really into the digital nomad lifestyle, so his proposal is to rent the place to tourists when we're not using it. I'm a teacher, and I told him I didn't want to have to deal with random people in the cabin. He said that I didn't need to because he will be the one to be in charge. I told him no. I'm not okay with this, not only for the fact that I do not want strangers in my property, but because it will surely make things more complicated. Everyone is fighting right now. So far, I seem to be the only one that wants to have some personal time alone in there. We haven't even used the place, and we already want to sell it. I feel really sad right now because it is the last thing we all got from our grandpa. We have a family group chat, and everyone was just fighting, and now no one is talking. The cabin was supposed to bring us closer together, but it's only tearing us apart. Update 1 week later. The situation at the cabin has escalated significantly, with my family now divided into 2 distinct factions, each with wildly different ideas about how the property should be used. I had proposed that everyone get a month each to be alone at the cabin, but no one liked it. Leo is still pushing for his renovation costs and still believes he is entitled to compensation. He has put in new appliances and everything else, and now says we all need to pay more since it wasn't what he originally wanted to install. He has since increased the price. He is trying to guilt-trip all of us, saying it was all for our benefit. My sister, Hazel, has switched her opinion and now sides with Miles about converting it into an Airbnb. She claims that at least this way we can make a profit out of the whole thing, and that if Leo's reno cost was covered, we could probably turn a decent income out of this. They are arguing that since no one is ever going to use it, might as well turn it into a business, and that's where my cousin Ivy comes in. She is completely against it. She has called all of them greedy, saying that Grandpa would be ashamed of them. She sides with me on keeping the place for personal use. I appreciate it. So now we're 2 against 3. To make things more complex, Miles found out that we had a cabin insurance policy that covered damages during the renovation. Leo had never brought this up, and since we know that he doesn't have any savings, all of us are speculating that the money from the insurance policy is what he used to fund it, which was not the proper way to use the insurance policy at all. He is now saying he is not going to give the insurance money back. The tension between my cousins is palpable, and my sister and Miles are acting really weird about it, talking in code about turning a profit as if they are partners in crime. I also feel really hurt because all they care about is money. It makes me wonder if they ever even cared about my grandfather in the first place. I was going through old family photos last night and realized how happy we all were. Why can't it be that way again? This morning, I texted them all in our group chat that I wanted to go to the cabin alone for a few days. I'm going there this weekend. I didn't even wait for a response. It's my cabin as well, so no one can stop me. I'll go alone. Maybe the change of scenery will bring me clarity. I haven't told my family that I'm going, and I don't think I will. I can't rely on them anymore. I'm starting to think that I may be better off alone. Update 10 days after, I just got back from my stay at the cabin, and it was nothing like I expected. I left Friday morning. All my family was at work, so I didn't tell them I was going. I had packed the essentials, got my things in my car, and went. I got there around the afternoon. It was eerily silent. The cabin felt unfamiliar due to the renovations. The walls were a horrible shade of gray. Nothing was like Grandpa had left it. It was as if a new person was trying to take my grandpa's place. I spent the weekend reflecting and journaling, trying to come to terms with what has been going on with my family. It was hard. The silence was almost deafening. I went through my grandfather's old photo albums and found a notebook where he had written all the reasons he loved the cabin. He wrote how his wife, my grandmother, loved to go for walks near the mountain, how he loved sitting on the porch drinking tea and watch the birds, and how he loved spending time with all of us. I wept. When Sunday came, I decided I needed to make a change. I can't keep being sad all the time. I made the decision to leave them all. I cleaned up the cabin, made sure all the windows were closed, and left. I got back home Monday morning. When I got to work, I texted my family that I was leaving and that they could do whatever they want with the cabin. I also told them that I wanted them to remove my name from the ownership and that I wanted to sever all ties with them. Of course, everyone texted me, some more aggressively than others, asking me why I was doing this, and I blocked all their numbers. I don't want to talk to them anymore. I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but I can't keep dealing with their drama anymore. I feel like I'm losing myself. I'm going to try to contact a lawyer to see if it's possible to have my name removed. I will be going no contact. They are a bunch of snakes, and I hope they get what they deserve. I feel heartbroken, betrayed, and relieved all at the same time. I still have all of Grandpa's picture albums, and that's enough for me. I may not be able to have my family again, but at least I have his memories. Final update: 1 year later, a year has passed, and I haven't spoken to anyone in my family. When I tried to get my name off the deed, I discovered that Leo had actually forged our signatures to take full ownership of the property. He apparently used our social security numbers from when we all got our inheritance to impersonate us online. He kicked everyone off the property and turned it into an illegal resort that got shut down by the city. He got served for fraud, identity theft, and other things he did, and is now being sued by everyone. I ended up doing a whole lot of therapy in order to let go. The cabin was never the real issue. It was how my family behaved. I have since learned to embrace the fact that family isn't always blood, and I have found my own chosen family and a community that loves me and who I also love. I've made new friendships, I've tried new hobbies, and I finally feel like I am healing from the whole situation. I'm no longer sad about the cabin. The cabin was just a building, but my grandpa's memories will always be with me. My parents gambled away my college fund, then demanded I pay for their retirement. Now they're mad I won't give them half my paycheck. My parents made me financially responsible for their retirement after they gambled away my college fund. Now they blame me for their suffering. It started when I was 17 years old. My parents, Robert and Susan, always told me I needed to get a scholarship if I wanted to go to college because they weren't going to pay for it. I was fine with it. I got good grades in high school and studied really hard, thinking I could easily get a scholarship. However, they always encouraged me to go to my university, saying that it would look good on paper. It was one of the best schools in the country, and because I had the chance to go there, it meant that I must be really smart. I thought that I would go to a different school due to its affordability and scholarships I could obtain for the less prestigious institutions, but they would always tell me it was the worst mistake of my life to throw away such a great opportunity. It's hard to put in words the pressure they put on me. I felt like my worth was completely dependent on my academic success, but after they kept reminding me about how expensive it was and how much they weren't willing to help financially, that it was all on me to get in, I studied really hard. I wanted to do right by them. When I graduated, I got a good enough score that I could go to any college. So I had a lot of choices on the table, and I could choose the school I had been wanting to go to. But my parents kept pushing the best school, as they called it. So with a very heavy heart, I applied and got into the better university. I got an email congratulating me and inviting me, which I showed to my parents, who cheered. It was one of the happiest moments in my entire life. So the pressure to find a way to pay for this was monumental, but I felt I was up to it because I am good enough for that level of competition, they said. When I was waiting for the offers to start coming in, they took me to celebrate my acceptance. However, it was very short-lived. When I was at the point of choosing, Both of my parents said that they had something very important to tell me. I was very excited because I was expecting a graduation gift, but instead they told me that they didn't have enough money to pay for my tuition. They said that they took out a huge loan that they then spent on gambling. Not only that, they also lost my college fund on it too. They were in debt for over $50,000. I didn't know what to do. I had no money because I've always been focused on studying, so it never crossed my mind to get a job. My parents had never given me any money. My parents told me that if I didn't get scholarships, that was it. They weren't going to help me. So, when I told them I would have to find other options, they practically screamed, saying that I had to go to that university. They said that they were never going to forgive themselves if they did not get to see me graduate from it. At this point, I didn't even know what to think. I felt like I had been betrayed. Not only that, I realized that they hadn't planned for my future, only their own. When the scholarship offers started to come in, I chose to go to a cheaper school. I did get some scholarships for that school, which meant I could actually go, but not to the other one. However, since my parents knew how much I wanted to go to the good university, they still kept pushing me, saying that I should take out student loans so that I can attend the university I really wanted to go to. So, while I was looking for solutions, I started doing DoorDash and got a part-time job to help. However, it was only a drop of water in the ocean. It wasn't until the beginning of 20 that I fully understood the position my parents were in. They were behind on their mortgage payments. I found out my parents were in serious financial trouble when I got a call from my mother crying and begging me to help them out. They had used the last of their money to keep up with the mortgage, but they were 3 months behind, and it was starting to affect them psychologically. They admitted that they needed to rely on me to fix their situation. It's not like I could leave them on the street. I spent most of my college years working a part-time job and a full-time job so I could pay my own tuition. My parents, while living at home without paying rent, gambled away their entire retirement savings and are now relying on me. When they ask about the scholarship, I am always quiet about it. But now that they know the truth about my finances, they have begun asking me if I ever had an offer and that I must have faked the entire thing. They said, I wanted to believe that they cared for me, but I can't anymore. It wasn't until then that I realized that there was no reason to go to college anymore. I was just getting deeper and deeper into debt. When my parents first asked me to bail them out with money, I set up a meeting with a financial advisor to see what we could do to save their house. I explained that while I did have some savings, it wasn't going to last forever. The advisor advised that I would need to help them pay off their debt and get them a new savings account, which I did. I then got a new job and worked full-time so that I could pay for their bills, student loans, their debts, and mine. It was a huge burden on me, but it had to be done. Since then, my parents have started to blame me for their financial struggles, saying that if I had gotten more scholarships, they wouldn't have to rely on me. Not only that, but they started to complain about the things I bought for them, saying that I shouldn't have bought them, that they would have preferred money instead. But the things I bought were things they wanted or asked for. It's not like I have a ton of money and I'm just spending it. I did that once with the new TV, and they yelled at me for not having gotten a sound system, and I felt extremely bad. They don't understand that I am not making all the money in the world, and they are always comparing me to their rich friends. My parents have always seen me as their retirement plan. They have made no effort to find new jobs. They had told me that it's time for me to start paying them back for taking care of me, but they weren't the ones taking care of me. They were just keeping me alive. They never supported me in anything that I wanted. All they did was keep pushing their own dreams on me while making me pay for their mistakes. They made me miserable, and now they complain about it. Am I the jerk for thinking that they are unreasonable? Update 1. About a week after I posted this, my dad was listening to a podcast about how young people are too entitled, and now he is taking everything in the podcast to heart. He has started to yell at me every morning, telling me that I am not doing my part and that it is time to start taking responsibility. This is very ironic because he is constantly telling me that he is doing a lot of things and doing his very best. This is a total lie because I have started to do some background checks, and I found out that he hasn't been looking for a job as he told me, and he's just watching TV all day. My mom was very happy that my dad finally realized that she is not the only bad parent and is now agreeing with him. This made my father extremely happy to hear, so now he has been more annoying than he normally is. One day, My mom and dad told me that I needed to start paying for my own car and insurance because they weren't going to do that for me. I had never asked them to pay for anything in my life. Because of my financial situation, I drive a cheap car. I had been saving up to buy a used, reliable one. However, I had to use my entire savings to pay for their mortgage last month because they fell behind again. They seem to forget that I am paying for everything, including their food and their gas, and they still manage to make me feel bad about the things that I am doing for them. My car is used and not in the best conditions, as my parents' old one broke down and I didn't have enough money to buy another one. They insisted on making it my problem. I told them that I was currently not in the financial place to do that, and that they should also pitch in because both of them use the car. My father got upset and yelled at me that they used their money to pay for my education, that I needed to stop being entitled, and that I was an ungrateful son. My mother joined in saying I should get 2 or 3 more jobs if I have to. I have never once asked them to help me financially because the truth is they can't help me. After that, they demanded that I give them half of my next paycheck. When I told them that I wouldn't, they got mad and yelled at me for being selfish. So I showed them my banking statements, where it's clear that I am paying for every single bill. And they seemed shocked when they saw the numbers, not only because I was working this much, but how little of my money I kept to myself. When I told them that they were the problem and that I needed to leave, they cried and started begging me not to leave them, saying that they had nothing to do without me. They asked me to give them another chance. I felt pity for them. However, something inside of me just doesn't think I should be there anymore. So I told them that I needed some time to think, because for the first time, I'm thinking that they might not be worth it. Update 2. I spent the last week thinking about it. I couldn't come up with a solution that would make me happy, so I just decided to leave. My friend offered his spare room, and I immediately took it. When I told my parents this, they were devastated. However, they did not try to stop me. I packed my things and moved to my friends a couple of days after that. They did not say goodbye, nor did they ask me to come back. I have not talked to them ever since. I'm currently feeling both relieved and guilty for leaving them because I know they will suffer. But at the same time, I know that they should suffer. It's their fault that I'm in this position, and I need to be free. I deserve a chance to live a normal life. It's hard to get used to not being there anymore. I still feel like I should be there, but every time I think about it, I am reminded of everything that happened and how I was being treated. So, I always end up staying. I have to look for new therapists so that I can heal from everything that has happened. I'm thinking of doing low contact with them and then maybe no contact. But I do have some financial arrangements with them for the first few months to see if they can be independent. If it works, then I will be happy to continue supporting them, but if they relapse into their old habits, then I will completely cut them off. This week, I am planning on getting a new car so that I can do my job more effectively. It's also very important that I get a new doctor because the ones my parents used is very far away from my current place, and it's getting very inconvenient. I know they will start calling me when they can't keep paying for their bills and start blaming me again, but I'm not going to answer the calls and I will try to stick to my plan. If they do relapse, then that's on them. I'm done being their bank.
My mother lied about my cat being taken to a farm. Turns out, I tried burying Mittens alive after Jeremy died. A lie that destroyed my trust. My mother told me my childhood pet was just taken to a farm after my best friend passed away in the sandbox when I was 4. It was much worse. I, 28F, have always had a difficult relationship with my mother, Linda, 53F. She's always been very emotionally distant and, quite frankly, odd. Growing up, she never really engaged with me on an emotional level, and it always felt like she saw me as more of a burden than a daughter. She also doesn't really know when to stop or when to be sensitive. When I was 4, my best friend was a boy named Jeremy. We were inseparable. We spent most of our days in our neighbor's sandbox playing together. We were in the sandbox when it happened. I remember very vividly that it was a warm day, and Jeremy suddenly started coughing really hard. I didn't really understand what was happening, but I remember him saying his throat felt like it was closing. He turned blue and fell onto the sand. I ran into the house screaming for help. My mom called 911, but Jeremy didn't make it. Turns out it was a severe allergic reaction to something. I was devastated. We were best friends. We had all these adventures we planned. After the funeral, my mom sat me down and told me we had to talk about my cat, Mittens. She told me that Mittens had been taken to a farm and that she wouldn't be coming back. I cried for days. Mittens was my absolute everything. It was like I lost my two best friends in the same week. I have always carried the grief of losing Mittens, as it felt like the worst type of abandonment I had ever experienced. I'm now 28, and I've been in therapy for a few years because of my childhood. My mom hasn't ever really admitted or acknowledged the trauma that I have. She acts like I'm overreacting and that I should just get over it. Last week, she invited me over for dinner. I'm mostly low contact with her now, but I still try to make the time when she invites me over to avoid any conflict. We were talking about my upcoming wedding, and I told her how excited I was to have my little kitten in the ceremony. She had the audacity to say, "Oh, so now you like animals. I thought you had bad memories with pets." I was really confused about what she meant and asked her to explain herself, as my bad memory was her getting rid of my pet. She said, "Oh, honey, don't you remember? You were so traumatized by Jeremy's death that you tried to bury Mittens alive with him in the sandbox. We had to stop you before you killed her. That's why we got rid of her." I was speechless. I couldn't even form words. I was trying to process what she just said. She went on to tell me how distraught I was and that I just kept telling Mittens to go be with Jeremy. According to her, they just couldn't keep her around. Apparently, I was yelling and sobbing while I was being held back. After a long pause, I got up and walked out. I don't think I've ever felt this betrayed and hurt. I was just a kid, and she told me a lie. She didn't even try to correct or educate me. She just gave up. I was 4 years old. Update 1, it's been a few days since I left my mother's house and I'm still processing everything. I have been thinking a lot about my childhood and how many red flags I missed as a kid. There were times where she would just be cold, distant, and uninterested in anything. But then other times, she would be hyper-aware of everything I was doing, almost to the point of paranoia. My therapist suggested that maybe she had some kind of mental health issue that was left untreated because that type of behavior is quite rare for parents. It also just now occurred to me that my father wasn't around when all this happened. I know he wasn't at the house on the day Jeremy died. Maybe that's why he left. Now that I'm thinking about it, my mother's behavior wasn't just confined to how she treated me and Mittens. She had a peculiar way of handling almost everything in the house. Everything had to be organized in a specific manner. Things needed to be very, very clean. It was almost like she was trying to control something that was already out of her control. Maybe that's why she got rid of Mittens. She couldn't control what was happening, so she made it a mission to control things that were in her power. She never told me the truth about what really happened. Maybe she thought it would be too traumatizing to tell me that my actions led to the loss of Mittens. I don't think she even understands how much pain she caused by lying. She made me think I was abandoned. The farm lie really did a number on me. I believed that every pet I had would be taken away to a farm, so I tried my best not to get emotionally attached. That was her way of making things better, making sure I never truly bonded with an animal again. My fiancé, Caleb, has been very supportive during this time. He's been trying to distract me with our wedding planning and stuff like that, but I can't shake the pain and grief of knowing what really happened. It hurts that she never tried to tell me. The fact that my own mother would think I had enough awareness to want to intentionally hurt Mittens as a 4-year-old is heartbreaking. I had always assumed that she wasn't the best mother in the world, and that's why we didn't connect. But finding out what really happened, it just hurts. I wish I had a normal mother. I want her to apologize, but she will probably deny it like she does everything. I'm trying to decide if it's worth it to even bother asking her for one. Update 2. I decided that I wanted to confront my mother one more time and see what she had to say. I called her and asked if we could meet in person. She asked if it was about what happened at my house, and I said yes. I met with her a few days later at a coffee shop. I started off the conversation calmly, telling her that I wanted her to clarify some of her statements. She acted as if she had no idea what I was talking about, so I decided to spell it out for her. I told her that I know that I tried to bury Mittens alive, and that what she did was horrible. She then told me that I was just a child, and that she did what she thought was best. I asked her why she couldn't tell me the truth. Her response shocked me, because you had no right to be so emotional, she said. She continued to explain that my tantrums after Jeremy's death had been too much, and she didn't want to deal with any more of my emotions. She told me she was trying to protect me from the trauma. I asked if she was even remorseful, and she said I was being unreasonable because after everything that happened, I should have tried harder to understand where she was coming from. I got up and told her that she was the problem. She told me that if I can't get over something that happened decades ago, then I was immature. I blocked her number, and I don't think I will be speaking to her anytime in the near future. After that last interaction with her, I realized that I can't make her change. She doesn't want to change, and she genuinely believes that her way of handling things is the only right way. I have made peace with it and decided that I want to live my life away from her, since it seems like there's nothing I could do to make her a good mom. I think for the first time, I can finally forgive myself for believing that I was the problem for all those years. It wasn't me, it was her. I don't think I will be updating anymore. Thank you to everyone who took their time to comment on my situation. I appreciate it very much.